Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about a powerful yet often misunderstood principle: kindness with boundaries. It is a principle that unlocks not only healthier relationships, but also the door to your own self-respect. You see, kindness is one of the most beautiful expressions of humanity. It is the glue that holds us together, the spark that lights up the darkest of days, and the force that can heal a broken heart. But kindness, when misunderstood or misapplied, can become a source of pain, frustration, and even self-destruction. Many people think kindness means saying yes to everyone, bending over backward to accommodate every request, and ignoring their own needs for the sake of others. They confuse kindness with self-neglect. Let me tell you, my friends, that is not kindness, that is surrender. True kindness, the kind that heals and uplifts, must come with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are gates to let the right people in. They define what you stand for, what you will accept, and what you will not tolerate. Boundaries are an act of self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of all healthy relationships. Now, some of you may ask, how can I be kind and still set boundaries? Let me answer with this: kindness is not about pleasing everyone. It is about respecting everyone, including yourself. When you set boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. You teach them that your time, your energy, and your emotions are valuable. You teach them that kindness is a gift, not a weakness. Let me share 3 truths about kindness with boundaries. When you are clear about what you can and cannot do, you avoid confusion and resentment. People will understand where you stand, and that clarity creates respect. You cannot be all things to all people, and you shouldn't try. It takes courage to say no. It takes strength to stand firm when others push back. But when you do, you create space for what truly matters: your purpose, your peace, and your priorities. Real love is not enabling, it is empowering. When you set boundaries, you not only protect yourself, but also encourage others to grow, take responsibility, and respect limits. That is love in action. Kindness is one of the most admirable and sought-after qualities in human nature. It is the glue that binds relationships, the balm that soothes the wounds of the heart, and the light that brightens the darkest corners of life. Acts of kindness create connections, foster understanding, and remind us of our shared humanity. However, when kindness is given without boundaries, it can lead to unintended consequences that harm the giver more than they help the recipient. While the intention behind boundless kindness may be pure, its unregulated expression often spirals into self-neglect, ultimately diminishing the very essence of the kindness we wish to embody. At the heart of kindness lies the ability to empathize with others, to recognize their struggles, and to offer support in ways that alleviate their burdens. Yet, in our desire to help, there is a tendency to overlook our own limitations. We say yes to every request, take on responsibilities that are not ours to bear, and prioritize the needs of others above our own. This pattern of behavior may stem from a fear of being perceived as selfish, unkind, or unhelpful. But in striving to meet everyone else's needs, we gradually forget to address our own. Over time, this imbalance leads to exhaustion, frustration, and even resentment. Kindness without boundaries often arises from a deep-seated belief that our value lies in our ability to serve and please others. This belief can be shaped by cultural norms, societal expectations, or personal experiences that reward selflessness and discourage self-care. While selflessness is a virtue, it becomes a vice when it demands the complete erosion of one's own well-being. The inability to set limits on our kindness often results in overcommitting, overextending, and ultimately overburdening ourselves. We stretch beyond our capacity, ignoring the warning signs of fatigue and stress, convinced that doing so is a testament to our character and dedication. The consequences of such unchecked kindness are profound and far-reaching. Physical exhaustion is often the first sign, as our bodies struggle to keep up with the relentless demands we place on them. Sleep becomes a luxury, meals are skipped or rushed, and the time needed for rest and relaxation is sacrificed in favor of fulfilling obligations. Emotional fatigue soon follows as we grapple with the pressure to constantly be available, accommodating, and supportive. This state of perpetual giving leaves little room for self-reflection, self-care, or the pursuit of personal goals and interests. The result is a sense of emptiness, as though we have lost touch with our own identity in the process of serving others. Relationships, ironically, can suffer as well. While kindness is meant to strengthen connections, its overextension can strain them. When we are constantly giving without setting limits, others may come to expect our unending availability and generosity. This dynamic can create a sense of entitlement, where our efforts are taken for granted rather than appreciated. In some cases, people may even exploit our willingness to give, pushing us further into a cycle of self-sacrifice. Over time, this dynamic breeds resentment, as we begin to feel undervalued and unappreciated. The very relationships we sought to nurture through kindness become sources of tension and dissatisfaction. Furthermore, kindness without boundaries can hinder personal growth and development. When we dedicate all our energy to meeting the needs of others, we have little left to invest in ourselves. Our own dreams, aspirations, and passions are put on hold as we focus solely on the happiness and success of those around us. This self-neglect stifles our potential, preventing us from reaching our own goals and fulfilling our own purpose. It also limits our ability to truly inspire and uplift others, as we cannot pour from an empty cup. True kindness, after all, is not about depleting ourselves to benefit others, but about sharing our abundance in ways that uplift both the giver and the receiver. The absence of boundaries in kindness also creates a disconnect between our intentions and our outcomes. While we may intend to help others, our inability to set limits often leads to unintended consequences that undermine our efforts. For example, when we take on too much, we risk making mistakes or falling short of our commitments, which can harm those we were trying to help. Similarly, by constantly stepping in to solve problems for others, we may inadvertently deprive them of the opportunity to grow, learn, and develop their own resilience. In this way, unbounded kindness can foster dependency rather than empowerment, undermining the very purpose of our actions. It is important to recognize that setting boundaries does not diminish the value of kindness, rather, it enhances it. Boundaries allow us to be intentional about our acts of kindness, ensuring that they are given freely and authentically, rather than out of obligation or guilt. They enable us to prioritize our well-being so that we can continue to give from a place of strength and abundance. By setting limits, we create a sustainable practice of kindness, one that uplifts others without compromising our own health and happiness. Boundaries also foster mutual respect, as they communicate to others that our time, energy, and resources are valuable and finite. Learning to set boundaries requires courage and self-awareness. It involves acknowledging our own needs and limitations and being honest with ourselves and others about what we can and cannot do. This process may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if we are accustomed to equating kindness with self-sacrifice. However, it is through this discomfort that we grow and redefine what it means to be kind. We learn to say no without guilt, to delegate responsibilities without shame, and to prioritize self-care without apology. In doing so, we reclaim our autonomy and create a foundation for healthier, more balanced relationships. Setting boundaries also involves reevaluating our motivations for kindness. Are we giving out of genuine compassion, or are we seeking validation and approval? Are we helping because we want to, or because we feel obligated to? By examining our intentions, we can ensure that our kindness is rooted in authenticity rather than external pressures or expectations. This self-reflection allows us to align our actions with our values, creating a more meaningful and fulfilling practice of kindness. It is also important to communicate our boundaries clearly and assertively. This means being honest with others about our limits without resorting to defensiveness or aggression. Clear communication fosters understanding and respect, helping others to see that our boundaries are not a rejection of them, but a reflection of our commitment to self-care. When boundaries are communicated with kindness and consistency, they are more likely to be respected and accepted by others. Ultimately, kindness without boundaries is unsustainable. It leads to a cycle of giving that depletes rather than nourishes, eroding our well-being and diminishing the impact of our efforts. By setting boundaries, we create a healthier, more balanced approach to kindness, one that honors both ourselves and those we seek to help. In this way, kindness becomes a source of strength and joy, rather than a burden or obligation. It becomes a practice that uplifts, empowers, and sustains, allowing us to truly embody the compassion and care that lie at the heart of human connection. Boundaries are an essential aspect of human interaction and personal well-being, yet they are often misunderstood. Many perceive boundaries as rigid barriers that isolate individuals from one another, creating a sense of separation and distance. This perception can lead to resistance, both in setting boundaries for oneself and in respecting the boundaries of others. However, boundaries are not meant to be walls that divide. They are gates that open and close as needed, facilitating healthy connections and protecting individual autonomy. This nuanced understanding of boundaries allows us to see them not as constraints, but as tools for fostering respect, trust, and mutual growth. Boundaries function as dynamic mechanisms that balance openness with protection. They allow us to share parts of ourselves with others while safeguarding our most vulnerable aspects. Much like a gate that swings open to welcome guests and closes to provide security, boundaries enable us to choose when, how, and to what extent we engage with others. This choice is vital for maintaining our emotional, mental, and physical well-being, as it ensures that our interactions are guided by intention rather than obligation. Without boundaries, we risk overextending ourselves, losing sight of our needs, and compromising our values. The idea of boundaries as gates highlights their flexibility and adaptability. Unlike walls, which are immovable and indiscriminate, gates can be adjusted to suit different circumstances and relationships. This flexibility allows us to navigate the complexities of human interaction with grace and discernment. For example, the boundaries we set with a close friend may differ from those we establish with a colleague or acquaintance. Similarly, our boundaries may evolve over time as our relationships grow and change. This adaptability ensures that boundaries remain relevant and effective, providing the support and protection we need in each unique context. One of the most important functions of boundaries is to define and communicate our limits. These limits reflect our personal values, priorities, and capacities, serving as a guide for how we wish to interact with the world. By setting clear boundaries, we create a framework for respectful and authentic relationships. This framework helps others understand what we are willing to accept and what we are not, reducing misunderstandings and conflicts. At the same time, it empowers us to honor our own needs and make choices that align with our well-being. In this way, boundaries are not barriers to connection, but bridges that foster mutual understanding and respect. Boundaries also play a crucial role in protecting our energy and focus. In a world that often demands constant attention and availability, it can be challenging to carve out space for ourselves. Without boundaries, we may find ourselves pulled in multiple directions, unable to prioritize what truly matters. This lack of focus can lead to stress, burnout, and a diminished sense of purpose. By setting boundaries, we reclaim control over our time and energy, ensuring that we can devote ourselves to the people and pursuits that bring us joy and fulfillment. Boundaries act as a filter, allowing us to channel our resources where they are most needed and valued. At their core, boundaries are an expression of self-respect. They affirm our right to exist as individuals with unique needs, desires, and perspectives. This affirmation is not an act of selfishness, but an acknowledgement of our inherent worth. When we set boundaries, we declare that our time, energy, and well-being are valuable and deserving of care. This declaration is empowering, as it reinforces our sense of agency and self-worth. It also sets a precedent for how we expect to be treated by others, creating a foundation for healthier and more equitable relationships. Respecting the boundaries of others is equally important. Just as we have the right to set and enforce our own boundaries, so too must we honor the boundaries set by those around us. This respect is a sign of maturity and empathy, as it demonstrates our willingness to recognize and accommodate the needs of others. By respecting boundaries, we create a culture of mutual respect and trust, where individuals feel safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or intrusion. This culture fosters deeper connections and a greater sense of community, as it is built on a foundation of understanding and care. The concept of boundaries as gates also underscores the importance of communication in maintaining healthy relationships. Setting and respecting boundaries requires clear and open dialogue, as it involves articulating our needs and listening to the needs of others. This communication is not always easy, as it may involve difficult conversations or the risk of conflict. However, it is through these conversations that we build trust and strengthen our connections. By communicating our boundaries with honesty and compassion, we create opportunities for growth and collaboration, transforming potential points of tension into avenues for understanding. Boundaries are also a form of self-care. They allow us to prioritize our well-being and create space for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. In a society that often glorifies busyness and productivity, setting boundaries can be a radical act of self-preservation. It is a way of saying, I matter, and my needs are important. This act of self-care is not only beneficial for ourselves, but also for those around us. When we take care of ourselves, we are better equipped to care for others. Our ability to give is enhanced when it comes from a place of abundance rather than depletion. Boundaries also challenge us to confront our fears and insecurities. Setting boundaries often requires us to face the fear of rejection, conflict, or being perceived as unkind. These fears can be deeply ingrained, making it difficult to assert ourselves and enforce our limits. However, by embracing boundaries as gates, we can approach these challenges with confidence and clarity. we can remind ourselves that boundaries are not a rejection of others, but a reflection of our commitment to self-respect and mutual respect. This shift in perspective allows us to navigate the discomfort of boundary setting with greater ease and grace. Boundaries are not static, they are dynamic and responsive to our changing needs and circumstances. This fluidity is what makes boundaries effective and sustainable. It allows us to adapt to new challenges and opportunities, ensuring that our boundaries remain aligned with our values and priorities. This adaptability also reflects the reality of human relationships, which are inherently complex and ever-evolving. By viewing boundaries as gates, we embrace this complexity and create space for growth, change, and connection. In essence, boundaries are a celebration of our individuality and interdependence. They honor our right to exist as unique individuals while recognizing our need for connection and community. This duality is what makes boundaries so powerful, as they enable us to navigate the tension between autonomy and intimacy with wisdom and intention. Boundaries are not a sign of weakness or fear, but a testament to our strength and self-awareness. They are a way of saying, I know who I am, and I value who you are. This mutual acknowledgement is the cornerstone of healthy and meaningful relationships. Boundaries are also a reminder of our shared humanity. They highlight the fact that we all have limits, vulnerabilities, and needs. This recognition fosters empathy and compassion, as it encourages us to see others not as obstacles or demands, but as individuals with their own struggles and stories. By respecting boundaries, we cultivate a sense of solidarity and support, creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Boundaries are not an end in themselves, but a means to an end. They are tools for creating a life that is rich in meaning, connection, and fulfillment. By setting boundaries, we take ownership of our lives and create the conditions for authentic and joyful living. Boundaries are not about building walls that separate us from others. They are about opening gates that allow for meaningful and respectful interactions. They are an invitation to engage with the world on our own terms, in a way that honors our worth and enriches our relationships. Clarity is a cornerstone of healthy relationships and effective communication, yet it is often underestimated or overlooked. In the absence of clarity, misunderstandings and misinterpretations thrive, leading to unnecessary conflict and frustration. When we are unclear about our expectations, desires, or boundaries, we not only create confusion for others, but also compromise our own sense of self-respect. Clarity is not just about articulating our thoughts and feelings. It is a practice of self-awareness, intentionality, and respect for ourselves and those we interact with. It is the bridge that connects authenticity with respect, fostering environments where trust and mutual understanding can flourish. When we communicate clearly, we provide others with the tools they need to engage with us meaningfully. Imagine entering a room filled with fog, where every step forward is uncertain and every movement risks collision. This is what communication without clarity feels like. Without direction, others are left to guess our intentions and interpret our actions, often leading to assumptions that may not align with reality. Clarity removes this fog, illuminating the path for others to understand where we stand and what we need. It creates a shared framework where intentions and expectations are visible, allowing for informed and thoughtful responses. Clarity begins with self-awareness. Before we can clearly communicate with others, we must first understand ourselves. This requires reflection and honesty as we examine our values, priorities, and emotions. Self-awareness enables us to articulate our needs and boundaries with precision, avoiding the vagueness that often leads to miscommunication. When we know what we want and why we want it, we can convey our message with confidence and consistency. This clarity not only strengthens our communication, but also reinforces our sense of self-respect. It affirms that we are worthy of being understood and that our needs are valid and important. Clear communication is also a gift to others. It demonstrates respect for their time, energy, and emotions, as it spares them the effort of deciphering unclear messages or navigating ambiguous expectations. This respect fosters a sense of trust and collaboration, as it shows that we value their presence and perspective. Clarity creates a foundation for mutual respect, where both parties feel seen and heard. It eliminates the guesswork that often leads to frustration or resentment, paving the way for open and honest dialogue. In this way, clarity is not just an individual practice, but a shared commitment to understanding and connection. Clarity requires courage, as it often involves confronting difficult truths or expressing uncomfortable emotions. It may mean setting boundaries, asking for help, or addressing conflicts head-on. These moments can be challenging, as they expose our vulnerabilities and invite potential rejection or criticism. However, the courage to be clear is also the courage to be authentic. It is a declaration of self-respect as we choose honesty over convenience and truth over avoidance. By embracing clarity, we honor our worth and create space for genuine interactions that reflect who we truly are. Clarity is not about rigidity or perfection, it is about intention and effort. It recognizes that miscommunication is inevitable, but seeks to minimize it through thoughtful expression and active listening. This balance requires humility as we acknowledge our limitations and remain open to feedback. It also requires patience, as clarity is often a process rather than a one-time achievement. Misunderstandings may still occur, but with clarity as our guide, we can address them with grace and resolve. By prioritizing clarity, we create a culture of respect and accountability, where everyone feels empowered to express themselves and learn from one another. The impact of clarity extends beyond individual interactions. It shapes the dynamics of teams, communities, and organizations, influencing how goals are set, decisions are made, and conflicts are resolved. In professional settings, clarity is essential for productivity and collaboration. It ensures that roles and responsibilities are clearly defined, expectations are communicated, and feedback is constructive. Without clarity, teams can become disorganized and demotivated, as uncertainty breeds confusion and inefficiency. Clear communication fosters a sense of purpose and alignment, enabling teams to work together effectively and achieve shared objectives. In personal relationships, clarity deepens intimacy and trust. It allows us to express our love, gratitude, and appreciation with sincerity and specificity, strengthening our bonds with those we care about. It also enables us to address challenges and conflicts with empathy and respect, as we seek to understand and be understood. Clarity is a foundation for healthy relationships, as it creates an environment where honesty and vulnerability are welcomed and valued. It reminds us that respect is not just about agreeing with one another, but about being willing to listen, learn, and grow together. Clarity is also a form of self-care. When we are clear about our needs and boundaries, we protect our energy and well-being. We avoid overcommitting or compromising our values, as we are guided by a strong sense of purpose and intention. This clarity enables us to prioritize what truly matters, creating space for rest, reflection, and renewal. It also empowers us to advocate for ourselves as we communicate our limits with confidence and conviction. By practicing clarity, we take ownership of our choices and create a life that aligns with our values and aspirations. The practice of clarity extends to how we interpret and respond to the communication of others. Just as we strive to be clear in our expression, we must also seek clarity in our understanding. This requires active listening, where we engage with others with curiosity and openness, asking questions and seeking clarification when needed. Active listening is a form of respect, as it shows that we value the perspectives and experiences of others. It also deepens our connections, as it fosters empathy and mutual understanding. By seeking clarity in our interactions, we create opportunities for meaningful dialogue and shared growth. Clarity challenges us to move beyond assumptions and generalizations. It invites us to explore the nuances and complexities of human interaction, recognizing that every individual and situation is unique. This awareness encourages us to approach communication with sensitivity and adaptability, tailoring our messages to suit the context and audience. It reminds us that clarity is not about imposing our perspective on others, but about creating a shared understanding that honors our differences and commonalities. By embracing this approach, we cultivate a spirit of inclusivity and collaboration, where everyone feels valued and respected. The practice of clarity also involves setting realistic expectations, both for ourselves and for others. Unrealistic expectations can lead to disappointment and frustration, as they create a gap between what we hope for and what is possible. Clarity helps us align our expectations with reality, ensuring that they are fair, achievable, and mutually beneficial. This alignment fosters a sense of balance and harmony, as it reduces the risk of misunderstandings and unmet needs. By setting clear and realistic expectations, we create a foundation for trust and cooperation, where everyone feels empowered to contribute and succeed. Clarity is an ongoing practice, requiring mindfulness and intention in every interaction. It invites us to reflect on our communication habits and consider how we can improve them. This self-awareness enables us to identify patterns or tendencies that may hinder our clarity, such as avoidance, defensiveness, or impatience. By addressing these tendencies, we strengthen our ability to communicate with honesty and integrity. We also cultivate a sense of resilience, as we learn to navigate the challenges of communication with confidence and grace. Through this practice, we create a life that is guided by clarity, respect, and authenticity. Clarity is not just a skill or strategy, it is a way of being. It reflects our commitment to living with intention and purpose as we align our words and actions with our values. It is a testament to our respect for ourselves and others as we choose honesty and transparency over ambiguity and avoidance. By embracing clarity, we create a world where understanding and connection are possible, where respect and trust are the foundation of every relationship. It is through clarity that we honor the complexity and beauty of human interaction, creating a life that is rich in meaning and connection. Saying no is one of the most powerful expressions of self-respect and boundary setting, yet it often carries with it a weight of discomfort, guilt, or fear of rejection. This small two-letter word holds immense significance as it defines our ability to prioritize our own well-being, values, and goals amidst the demands and expectations of others. The strength to say no does not come from defiance or selfishness, but from a place of clarity, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of our own worth. It is an assertion of individuality and a declaration that we have the right to shape our lives according to what serves us best. The act of saying no is a practice in self-preservation. It creates space for us to focus on the things that truly matter, without becoming overwhelmed by obligations that detract from our purpose. Each time we say yes to something that is not aligned with our priorities, we are, in essence, saying no to something else, often something more meaningful or essential. Learning to say no is about reversing this pattern and ensuring that our time and energy are directed toward what aligns with our values and aspirations. It is about reclaiming our autonomy and taking ownership of our choices. Saying no requires courage, especially in a world that often equates compliance with kindness and resistance with confrontation. Many of us have been conditioned to avoid conflict or to place the needs of others above our own, leading to a reluctance to refuse requests or set boundaries. However, this avoidance comes at a cost. Each unspoken no erodes our sense of self and chips away at our confidence, leaving us feeling depleted and resentful. The courage to say no is a declaration that we value ourselves enough to protect our boundaries, even in the face of potential discomfort or disapproval. The strength to say no is also an exercise in clarity and honesty. It challenges us to examine our intentions and assess whether a particular request or expectation aligns with our goals and values. This self-reflection enables us to respond with authenticity rather than defaulting to automatic compliance. Saying no is not about rejecting others, but about honoring our own needs and limitations. It is an act of integrity, as it reflects a commitment to being true to ourselves and communicating with honesty and respect. By saying no when necessary, we demonstrate to others that our boundaries are not negotiable, reinforcing a culture of mutual respect. Saying no also empowers others to take responsibility for their own choices and challenges. When we say yes out of obligation or fear of disappointing others, we may inadvertently enable dependency or hinder their growth. Conversely, saying no with kindness and clarity encourages others to explore alternative solutions or take ownership of their situations. This empowerment benefits not only the individual but also the relationship, as it fosters mutual respect and independence. By standing firm in our boundaries, we model a healthy dynamic that values both self-respect and collaboration. The act of saying no is a form of prioritization, allowing us to allocate our resources where they are most needed or meaningful. Time and energy are finite, and every yes carries an opportunity cost. When we agree to take on additional responsibilities or commitments that do not align with our goals, we risk overextending ourselves and compromising the quality of our efforts. Saying no is an acknowledgement of our limitations and a commitment to doing fewer things well rather than many things poorly. It is an assertion of quality over quantity, as we choose to invest our resources in what truly matters. Saying no can also be a profound act of self-care. It creates space for rest, reflection, and renewal, allowing us to recharge and maintain our well-being. Without the ability to set boundaries, we risk falling into patterns of burnout or self-neglect as we become consumed by the demands of others. The strength to say no is an affirmation that our health and happiness are priorities deserving of time and attention. It reminds us that self-care is not selfish but essential, as it enables us to show up fully and authentically in all areas of our lives. The ability to say no is also a key component of effective decision-making. It challenges us to weigh the pros and cons of each request, considering not only the immediate impact, but also the long-term consequences. This deliberation fosters a sense of intentionality as we make choices that align with our vision and values. Saying no is a rejection of impulsivity and a commitment to thoughtful action as we prioritize what truly serves our purpose and goals. It empowers us to take control of our lives rather than being swept along by the expectations or demands of others. Saying no is an act of empowerment, as it reinforces our sense of agency and autonomy. Each time we assert our boundaries, we strengthen our confidence and remind ourselves of our worth. This empowerment extends to all areas of our lives as we develop the skills and mindset needed to navigate challenges and advocate for ourselves. Saying no is a reminder that we are not obligated to meet the expectations of others at the expense of our own needs or values. It is a declaration that our voice matters and that we have the right to shape our own path. The strength to say no also cultivates resilience, as it prepares us to face discomfort or rejection with grace and determination. Each time we assert our boundaries, we build the muscles needed to withstand external pressures or criticism. This resilience enables us to stay true to ourselves, even in the face of resistance or disapproval. Saying no is not about avoiding conflict, but about navigating it with integrity and composure. It reminds us that we have the strength to stand firm in our convictions, regardless of the reactions of others. Saying no is not about being unkind or uncooperative. It is about setting limits that protect our well-being and enable us to contribute authentically. It is possible to say no with kindness and respect, expressing gratitude for the opportunity while remaining firm in our decision. This balance demonstrates that we value the relationship and the request, but are unable to accommodate it at this time. By communicating our no with empathy and clarity, we strengthen our connections and foster an environment of mutual understanding. The practice of saying no is a journey requiring self-awareness, courage, and intention. It challenges us to confront our fears of rejection or disapproval and to embrace the discomfort of asserting our boundaries. However, each no is an investment in our well-being and authenticity as we prioritize what truly matters and honor our own needs. Over time, the strength to say no becomes a source of empowerment and liberation, enabling us to navigate life with confidence and clarity. Through this practice, we create a life that reflects our values and aspirations, free from the weight of unnecessary obligations or compromises. Boundaries are a reflection of self-respect and self-love. They define who we are, what we stand for, and how we interact with the world around us. Setting boundaries is not just about drawing lines and saying no to others. It is a deep expression of love for ourselves. It is a commitment to protecting our emotional, mental, and physical well-being, and an act of empowerment that allows us to show up as our most authentic selves. Without boundaries, we are vulnerable to exploitation, burnout, and self-neglect, and we may struggle to maintain our sense of identity. Boundaries reflect a fundamental understanding that true love begins with self-love, and that self-respect is the foundation of all healthy relationships. To understand how boundaries reflect true love and empowerment, we must first recognize that love is not just a feeling, but a continuous act of prioritizing our well-being and honoring our needs. Boundaries allow us to do this. They are the invisible lines that protect our hearts, minds, and bodies from being overwhelmed or manipulated by the demands of others. When we set healthy boundaries, we are saying that our time, energy, and emotions are valuable, and that we are not willing to allow others to drain or take advantage of them. This is an act of self-love because it demonstrates that we care enough about ourselves to make decisions that serve our highest good. Boundaries also reflect true love because they enable us to engage in relationships with others in a way that is grounded in mutual respect. Healthy boundaries allow us to be present for others without sacrificing our own needs. They create an environment where we can give and receive love freely, without fear of depletion or resentment. When we love ourselves enough to set boundaries, we are also teaching others how to treat us. We show them that we expect respect, consideration, and understanding, and we demonstrate that we are capable of making choices that honor our own values and priorities. Boundaries set the tone for how others should treat us, and they reflect the value we place on ourselves. Empowerment is closely linked to the practice of setting boundaries because it allows us to take control of our lives and decisions. Empowerment comes from knowing that we have the ability to say no when necessary, to protect our time and energy, and to advocate for our needs. When we fail to set boundaries, we give up our power and allow others to dictate our choices. This disempowerment leads to feelings of frustration, resentment, and helplessness as we find ourselves in situations that do not align with our values or goals. On the other hand, when we set boundaries, we reclaim our power and regain a sense of control over our lives. We become the architects of our own reality, making choices that reflect our true desires and needs. Setting boundaries is also a form of self-respect. When we respect ourselves enough to establish limits, we send a clear message that we are worthy of consideration and care. Boundaries allow us to stand firm in our values and not bend to the pressure or expectations of others. This does not mean we are selfish or uncaring, but rather that we are taking responsibility for our own well-being. Self-respect requires that we honor our own feelings, needs, and desires, and boundaries are the tool we use to ensure that we do so. When we respect ourselves, we create a space where we can engage with others in a way that is healthy, supportive, and nurturing. We also demonstrate to others that they too deserve to set their own boundaries and practice self-respect. True love is not about sacrificing ourselves for others, but about being able to give from a place of abundance, not depletion. Setting boundaries ensures that we can be present and loving without being overwhelmed. It creates a balance between giving and receiving, allowing us to show up fully for others, while also taking care of our own needs. When we fail to set boundaries, we may find ourselves overcommitted, emotionally drained, and resentful, which makes it difficult to be truly loving or present in relationships. Boundaries protect our emotional resources, ensuring that we have the energy and capacity to be compassionate and caring when we choose to be. They also allow us to say no without guilt, knowing that it is a necessary act of self-preservation. In relationships, boundaries reflect the depth of our love for others as well. When we set healthy boundaries, we create an environment where both parties can thrive. We acknowledge that our needs and desires are important, but so are those of the other person. Healthy boundaries ensure that we do not overstep one another's limits, and that we communicate openly and honestly about what is acceptable and what is not. This mutual respect strengthens the relationship, fostering trust, understanding, and emotional intimacy. By setting boundaries, we are saying that we love and respect the other person enough to create a space where both individuals can express themselves freely without fear of judgment or exploitation. Boundaries also provide protection from toxic relationships. They act as a shield, preventing us from being manipulated or taken advantage of by others. Toxic relationships can be draining and damaging, leaving us feeling exhausted, unappreciated, and emotionally depleted. When we set clear boundaries, we draw a line between ourselves and harmful behaviors, and we create a safeguard against emotional manipulation, control, or abuse. By refusing to tolerate mistreatment, we assert our worth and show that we are deserving of love, respect, and kindness. Boundaries act as a defense mechanism, enabling us to protect our emotional well-being and maintain healthy relationships. Empowerment also comes from recognizing that we have the right to choose who and what we allow into our lives. Boundaries help us define what is acceptable and what is not, and they give us the strength to remove ourselves from situations or relationships that do not align with our values or goals. This requires a level of self-awareness and inner strength, as we must be able to identify when something is not serving us and have the courage to make the necessary changes. Empowerment means taking responsibility for our lives and decisions, and boundaries are an essential tool in this process. They empower us to create lives that are aligned with our deepest desires and values. When we set boundaries, we also create the space for personal growth and self-discovery. By protecting our time and energy, we free ourselves from distractions and obligations that might prevent us from focusing on our own development. Boundaries allow us to invest in our own passions, interests, and aspirations, giving us the freedom to grow and evolve in ways that align with our authentic selves. They protect the time we need to reflect, rejuvenate, and pursue our goals, ensuring that we do not become lost in the demands of others or the expectations placed upon us. Boundaries provide the structure and discipline necessary to achieve personal growth and self-empowerment. True love, therefore, begins with the love and respect we give ourselves. When we set boundaries, we are practicing the highest form of self-love. We acknowledge our worth, protect our well-being, and prioritize our needs and desires. Boundaries are not barriers, they are gateways to a life of authenticity, empowerment, and fulfillment. They allow us to engage in relationships with others in a way that is healthy, respectful, and nurturing. By setting boundaries, we demonstrate our love for ourselves and others, and we empower ourselves to live lives that are aligned with our true values and aspirations. So, my friends, let me challenge you today: be kind, but be firm. Be giving, but not depleted. Be loving, but not at the expense of your own dignity. Remember, kindness with boundaries is not selfish, it is wise. It is the key to self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of a meaningful and impactful life. The world does not need more people who say yes to everything. It needs people who say yes to the right things. Let that be you. Stand strong in your kindness and let your boundaries define the beauty of your character. Thank you.